This is the Opie and Anthony podcast. Find the show on Twitter @Opie Radio, @Anthony Cumia, and @Jim Norton. And on Sirius XM every weekday.
But enough of this palaver. Let's get the show on the road.
Oh, here he is, Tom Sizemore.
I wasn't sure who was open, who was. I'm just joking.
Oh my God,
glad it
you
was you.
got to know who's who at this point.
What's up, man? Are you Jim Norton?
I am Jim.
You remember Jimmy from last time?
I do.
Of course he does.
Jim.
This is Jim
How are you?
Florentine. Good. How you doing?
How are you, man? I just ran over here from the.
You're sweating a lot, sir.
Because I ran over here. I took a late bath. I messed my time up, and you shouldn't get dressed after a hot bath.
No.
You need like at least a half hour.
Yeah, cool down period.
Oh my God.
I didn't have my cool down period.
Yeah, you need a cool down period.
I
Yeah.
had my 5-minute cool down period.
Yeah, you got to relax after a hot bath. 'Cause then you put it on and you sweat under the clothes.
I took a really hot bath at the.
Your shirt is really sweaty. Take off your jacket.
Opie.
You'll feel cooler.
Opie.
Yes,
You
sir.
put bubbles in
It's
that
like
bath too, or
I
you
did
just
put bubbles and salt.
and so what? Like
you go
Epsom
with the salt?
or
Epsom salts.
Mm-hmm.
High-end Epsom salts called Calgon.
and what does that do? Detox?
This just makes your muscles. I'm 52, so
Relax.
I have a bad back. I have so I take a bath in the morning. But I was so tired.
I don't want to know that Tom Sizemore takes a bath.
No.
He
You don't
seems
want
like
to?
more of a shower
do.
guy.
No, I took a shower after the bath.
I think you're a shower guy.
But I
don't-
stood up out of the bath and turned the shower on.
Do you
have to.
masturbate in the tub, or do you wait for the shower? Because you don't want.
I like to masturbate standing up.
'Cause you
so
don't want it
I
floating
start
on you.
I start in the tub, but I finish standing up, so it's a clean getaway.
Yes.
You don't want to arc one in the tub while
And
you're
it goes-
sitting in it.
Yeah, then it gets stuck on your neck.
Having done that when I was younger, having
stand-
left it in the tub,
Yeah.
and then stood up and it's
The standing
got
up,
out and it's stuck to your body somewhere.
Bad move.
Really bad move.
the standing up jerk is underrated. It's
standing up
nice.
jerk is- it's like
nice
doing-
because
it's
your
like doing
legs
the
get
rever-
weak for
it's
a
like-
second, and it adds to the experience.
It's like doing the
Yeah.
reverse cowgirl, whatever that is. Does anyone know what that is?
Oh, yeah, it's when the girls,
Yeah.
when you're on your back.
Hang on,
and
Jim.
she's-
Why do you know this?
I've actually read enough erotic
How do you not know
escort
the
reviews.
Yeah, I know that too.
The reverse cowgirl is when she's facing away from you.
Right.
She's
Yeah,
sitting
her
on
ass.
you.
That's
you're
always
looking
good
at
for
her
me.
ass.
That's
Yeah.
always good for me.
Yeah.
When she's
See?
facing away from me.
What if she's got a hairy ass? Does that bother you?
No, not really.
No.
You sure?
You could block that out.
Block out the hairy ass. Don't worry, we'll get to the
Do
Kickstarter.
girls have a hairy ass?
Some do.
Some,
Yeah.
some have some spiders back there.
Yeah. I've had a few disasters.
Yeah.
I like the reverse cowgirl because you don't have to look.
I don't have sex from the rear.
No?
I don't like it.
You like eye contact?
Yeah.
Wait, you don't put it in their rear?
I don't like sex from the back at all.
Oh, you don't go
I
doggy
think
style.
I think it's not intimate.
Wow.
And I'm only interested in intimacy.
Nah, sometimes you don't need.
Come
it.
on.
You don't. You never hit a
Oh,
chick
he's
from
bullshitting.
behind.
Okay,
I'm thinking
jeez,
serious.
Tom, my God.
I never hit a girl from the back.
Yeah.
I never hit a girl in the back or from the back or on the back.
You went out with Heidi Fleiss, I think. I think you did
I
it from
just walked
behind
into
the
a
line.
buzzsaw here. A buzzsaw. I just walked into a buzzsaw here.
You're not looking at Heidi Fleiss
I wasn't
when
ready
you're
for
having
this.
sex.
This was fucking.
Come on now.
Excuse me. This was 15 years
Who are
ago.
you
Can I live this down?
Do you?
What, the Heidi Fleiss thing?
Yes.
Yeah, you can live it down. It's
Please.
just part of your history, that's all.
It's 15 years ago.
You've got a lot
What
of great history, too.
Oh, that's true. I don't want to live that down, so I get it.
Have you ever...
You ever try to sneak it in the other hole? Like if you're getting it from behind, like put it in the other one, and you go, "Oh, I'm sorry,
I
wrong
slipped.
I don't sorry anybody. I was like,
one." Well, if she gets mad, you probably should say you're sorry.
I put my hand over her mouth and say, "Shut the f up."
Exactly.
You're gonna like this in a minute.
Exactly.
Just hang in there.
Yeah, you knew.
Just hang in there. Just let me get past that O-ring. Just let me get past that O-ring. Pop through there, and it's gonna be glorious for you.
Everything's going to be all right.
You're gonna think you have two punyanis. You're gonna go hit me in punyani number 2 today. Punyani 1, no more. No threat of pregnancy. Only punyani 2.
Just hang in there.
Just hang in there.
Sizemore came to play today. I like this.
It's like Bill Parcells. Just hang in there. Just hang in there, LT. Keep smoking that crack. I didn't play in the fourth quarter.
Oh, man. LT loved his crack, too. Wow.
He loved this. Smoked it. Hey, listen, I know I'm not.
You see the documentary on LT?
No,
It was amazing.
The 30 for 30 one?
Yeah, it was amazing.
I haven't seen it. The best one so far is Bad Boys, I think. Did you see that one?
No.
Watch Bad Boys. It's about the Pistons.
Oh.
The 89-90 championship team.
With Lambier?
Yeah, well,
Throwing
Lambeer,
those fucking elbows, you son of a
he
bitch.
didn't throw any elbows.
And Lambeer
He
had his
threw
elbows
fists.
up a lot.
You know what he did do? Was it he stood like
He was
this.
amazing, actually. But
He was
I hate him
amazing.
because I wasn't a Pistons fan.
He would do this, and when they made contact, he would then put his body into him and take them to the floor. That was his main thing.
Yeah.
Was taking charges,
Yeah.
but on the way down, really trying to kill you. He did the wrong. He did it to Bird. Remember that?
I don't remember that.
And then Parrish, the next game, Parrish hit him
Punched
in the
him.
face.
Yeah. Yeah, of course I remember that.
You know what Lambeer said after he punched him in the face? Because he was knocked out. He wasn't knocked out, but he was hurt. His first words were, "Did he get ejected?
Really?
Did he get ejected?"
Yeah,
and
'cause-
they didn't eject either one of them.
Because he was a dirty player. He understood the game.
Well, that was a different ball game then. I mean,
Boy, was
remember
it.
the Knicks? Remember the Knicks team in the '90s with Starks and
Johnny
Doc
Starks.
Rivers and Anthony Mason and
Right.
I mean, Oakley had a fight every like 4 games.
Yeah.
We had some battles with your
I mean,
Pistons.
I have a whole bunch of these 30 for 30s, and I like that Knick team. Even though they didn't win the title.
Well,
You
you
remember
wing.
when John Starks headbutts Reggie Miller?
Of course.
The
Those were the good old days.
That was the most boneheaded play of all time. It cost them the
Right.
the
Starks
conference.
lost his mind.
They cost them the conference championship that year. The next year they won the conference championship, and then Starks went 1 for 17.
That was like 90, what,
That was-
94-ish?
Yeah, the 1 for 17 game was actually the day that O.J. Simpson did his infamous ride in his Bronco.
Oh, they cut away from the game, right?
Arnold Palmer played his last PGA tournament, and the Rangers had their parade. It's on the 30 for 30. It's called whatever the date was.
Okay.
Something 1994.
I got the box set. I got to watch
And
all the
it's
30.
a 30 for 30. And it's
I-
about all the other events that happened that day that
Yeah.
were.
That fucked up Starks' head.
Well, no. That's about. But the Starks meltdown. The Knicks lost the title. The Rangers had a championship parade. Arnold Palmer played his last tournament, all overshadowed by this Bronco going 7 miles an hour down the.
And you're
Yeah.
from Detroit.
That all happened that day.
I was a Laker fan, so I hated the Pistons because Abdul-Jabbar's last game was in a fucking 4-game sweep by the Pistons. The Lakers won 7 games.
We
one
beat you guys
year.
4-0
4-0.
after you beat us the year before 4-3.
Yeah, it was the 7th game that they won. Yeah.
You won the 7th. You won the 6th and 7th game. We were up 3-2 coming to
Right.
L.A. and then Isaiah twisted his ankle and scored 25 points. He scored 14 points, and then after the twisting of the ankle, he scored 11 more. Still the most points scored in a quarter in a playoff in a championship game. He scored 25 points.
Really?
And then Jabbar got the foul
Yeah.
on Lambeer with 4 seconds to go and hit the 2 free
He hit
throws.
the free throws. Yep.
And you guys won by 1, and they came back and won Game 7.
You really know your sports.
I
You know your
my-
basketball.
I know my sports.
This
Yeah.
is stuff I haven't thought about in years, and it's
I know
right
my,
in your
I
head.
know my sports really well, actually. Yeah,
Who's
I
your
do.
football team? The Lions?
The lie downs. No, they're not the lie downs. Well, these are the names for the teams when I grew up. We called them they were the Dead Wings, the Piss-Ons, the Tie-Ups, and the Lie Downs. And this was not just me; it was my whole neighborhood because nobody won anything. I mean, the Tigers in '84 were the first time in my young adulthood. I mean, in '68 won the World Series, but I was 6. I do remember it though, but I didn't appreciate it.
Right.
And then by the time I really liked sports when I was 10, those teams were all terrible. And one year the Pistons won 16 games.
Wow.
And my dad said, I remember my dad saying, if they double this output next year, they come in last place again. Wow.
That's rough.
That was 2 years before we hired McCluskey and 1 year before we drafted Isaiah.
It's been rough being a Knicks fan. We haven't won shit.
You guys still got a team here?
Barely. I mean, they're rebuilding and trying. We'll see what happens
You guys
this
got a
year.
team. You guys got a team. I mean, you got Carmelo and
I don't think we win a championship with Carmelo
you guys,
Anthony.
I don't think
ever.
anybody wins a championship with Carmelo. I don't want to go on.
Thank you.
I
You know
just-
the deal because he's a fucking ball hog. He's an amazing
I
player,
don't
but he
think-
doesn't he doesn't make anyone else better
No,
around him.
You don't know. We don't know how he would. He doesn't make anyone better, but we don't know how he would play with another superstar. He may defer. I mean, LeBron and Wade and Bosh. I mean, they got it. They played together.
That's what you have to do.
They
Carmelo
played.
Anthony
I mean,
doesn't
they
understand
played
that.
together.
yet.
They really did. And LeBron still was a good LeBron.
Do you think LeBron wins a championship for the Cavaliers now?
I think
Not right away, but in the next couple of years?
I would pick him this season.
This season to win a championship.
I think Kevin Love's the best player in basketball besides LeBron, for my money.
Okay.
I think he's better than Durant.
Wow.
He's just as good.
Right.
Love, he's better. He's in the top 3. There's LeBron and then Love, Durant. And who would you put else? Would you put up there?
Nick
They're
Van
five.
Exel.
No,
Nick Van Exel's a good choice.
Nick Van Exel said Cancun. This is why he got cut by the Lakers. They were going to play Game 6 against the Spurs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was when Kobe was a rookie and he had 4 air balls in a row at the end of the game. Okay, before that game, they went, whatever they say, like play hard, or like defense.
Right.
And Nick Van Exel said Cancun, and the coach was Harris, the guy who coached the Rockets, Del Harris.
Okay.
Del Harris heard him say Cancun, and he told Kupchak, and as soon as the playoffs were over, they cut Van Exel.
What was the problem with Cancun?
Well, he was insinuating they were going to lose that game.
Oh, and he'll be in Cancun,
Cancun?
by
Yeah.
Saturday.
Oh, Jesus. It was 3-2, Opie. It was the game 3-2 Spurs.
All right, but I didn't understand why Cancun. All right,
It was
that's
3-2
hilarious.
Spurs, and they're going out to play the game. They're in the locker room.
No, I understand
and
now.
He goes,
Yeah.
Cancun.
Oh, that's funny. Did he really
Maybe
do
that's
that?
how he talked
Come
himself
on.
up.
Honest to God truth. Honest to God
hilarious.
truth. The next season, Rodman was on the team.
Right.
He came to practice without his sneakers, which is why Kurt Rambis cut him. Rodman showed up an hour late to practice after his 12th game. I'm a Laker fanatic too. And he came on a motorcycle with no helmet. Rambis was in the parking lot waiting for him because he was being late to practice, and he wanted to cut him already. And Kupchak was going, no, because he had like 16 rebounds. He played like 9 games for the Lakers. But then he showed up with no shirt, a pair of cut-off jeans, and no basketball shoes. And he walked in there with Kurt, and Kurt Rambis said to Dennis, he went, you got any shoes? We have practice. And he said, I can rebound. And he told me this story. I was in celebrity rehab with him. I said, tell him about the shoes. He went, I can rebound without shoes. I said, but didn't everybody else have on shoes at practice?
Right.
And he said, I'm not everybody.
Wow.
Wow.
And he was actually making fun of himself at that time. And he said, I messed up and I didn't have any shoes. And I was going to practice without any shoes. And Kurt said, I don't know if you know this, Dennis, but on the Lakers, we have certain protocols. And having your shoes and your practice jersey are important. And he went, I'll go get them. And he lived in Newport, which was 2 hours from the Staples Center.
He went back home.
No, he said, why don't you go to Newport and stay there?
Oh, okay.
And he cut him, and then Mark Cuban picked him up.
Right.
And he went to Dallas, and that was his last stop.
That was it.
What a strange guy. Were you surprised when he went to Korea? How because he seemed pretty drunk when he was over in
Pretty
North
drunk.
Korea. Yeah, he was.
He was drunk.
Yeah.
I don't think he. I knew him on Celebrity Rehab, and he was not the guy that was in that. I mean, he's proof positive that any kind of abuse makes you a different person, because the Dennis Rodman that I got to know over 2 months bore no resemblance to the Dennis Rodman who was teaching that emperor, that dictator killer, how to shoot free throws.
Right.
And sing Happy Birthday. That Happy Birthday was
and,
creepy.
I know, but shooting free throws, Rodman was a lifetime 42% free throw shooter.
He was horrible.
He should have that dictator should have gotten Mark Price or something.
Yeah, somebody.
Mark Price is a 91% free throw
There's
shooter.
a name from the past, Mark Price.
That's not that long ago. I was going to say Rick Barry for a minute.
Mark Price hasn't played in a long time.
Rick Barry hasn't been in a very long time.
Well, yeah.
And he was the number 2 free throw shooter of all time, 90%.
But he
underhanded.
He did it underhand, that goofy underhand backspin
Did you know
thing.
that?
I did not.
Oh,
Jim, it's nice to see you.
It's good to see you.
It's
too,
good
though.
to see you, man. It really is.
he was doing the underhand free throw when no one else was doing it. It looked so awkward every single time. But
But he
what
was-
was his percentage? 92%?
90 point. I know this actually because I was just reading all this stuff the other day. 90.8 for his career.
Wow.
And Price was 91.1.
Wow.
They're the only 2 guys over 90.
For their careers.
Yeah, and the next greatest free throw shooter is
Shaq.
no, it's not Shaq. It's
course it wasn't.
no, it's someone like Aaron Affalo. Aaron Affalo, the guy who plays for the Heat now, he's from UCLA.
Okay.
Like 87% lifetime.
Wow.
You keep in touch with the celebrity rehab guys?
I keep in touch with Drew.
With Drew?
Yeah, I saw him last week. I was on Loveline.
Yeah, I saw your Twitter. How did that go?
Drew's always great.
Yeah.
Mike's a little obnoxious, but he's my obnoxious.
Is he worried about you?
Mike,
No, Dr. Drew.
I'm doing well.
Well, yeah, but I'm just
He's
in general,
he's my doctor.
Right,
I see him all the time.
right.
He's a great guy.
All right.
Did you really meet John Wayne Gacy? We were talking about that before. Was it when you were doing?
I didn't meet him. I was in the cell block when I could see him.
Okay, and you got to talk to him or no?
No. He told Oliver he wanted us to leave.
Oh.
He wanted Robert to stay. He said, especially the girl. Get rid of the girl. That's what he said.
Wait, so all
He
you
wanted
guys?
Robert.
Downey Jr., I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
So did he
Well,
talk to him?
Robert, myself, Woody, and Juliet went down there with Oliver to I don't know. Oliver was a eccentric. We'd already shot part of the movie, and it was the second half of the movie which takes place in the prison. So we shot the first half of the movie.
Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a half of the movie that takes place right before the drug zone when we finally catch them, and they're in that green building. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then there's the big pull away with the camera, and the next thing is the prison. So we shot that first half in Winslow, Arizona. The first half of the movie was shot all around Winslow and the outer environs, and then we went to Chicago and shot it at what was called Statesville then. It was in Marion, Marion, yeah. No, Marion's in Indiana.
Illinois, isn't it?
Marion,
Illinois.
It is
Sure.
Illinois?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was Marion, and it was called Statesville State Prison, and that's where the guys who got the death penalty in Illinois, they had a special place for those guys that were going to be executed in Illinois, and they were sent to Statesville, and that's where John Wayne Gacy was. And we went to meet the warden. This is before we started shooting there, a couple of days before, and he was telling us about how we should behave. The inmates were going to be the extras, and we didn't know that. And I remember Robert was really upset, and Tommy Lee Jones was, that we weren't told ahead of time that the extras were going to be a very big part. They were going to be the only extras there were going to be were inmates. There were going to be no actors, and that Oliver had come out there on the 2-week break we had between Winslow and going to, which was rare for a movie to just because you're going to a different location, they have that long a break. But he had to go. He said get ready for the prison, and what he did was one of the things he did was he cast the extras. The guys who were in the cafeteria. When I come in the cafeteria, the guy Tommy Lee Jones ties that thing around his nose. He's an inmate. So and everyone in Statesville is doing life without parole. So they're all like killers and rapists. There's not a nice guy there. I mean, there's nobody like I was in prison and Robert. There's no one in there for being a dumb dope fiend. Wow. For possession. Than in Statesville.
Yeah.
You have to have killed somebody or raped somebody or
Some real shit.
strong arm robbery.
Right.
So Tommy Lee was the one who was most put off. He was like, Oliver, you're BS me. I got to go in here with these. And he was real serious. He said, how can I be sure that one of you guys ain't going to put a shiv in me? And Oliver said, because they don't care about you. They don't want to have sex with you.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
They just had their way with Tommy Lee Jones.
And Tommy Lee went, sex with me? Ain't nobody having sex with me. And Oliver said, I know. That's why you're so upset all the time. Nobody wants to have sex with you, nor does anybody have sex. I was right there for that dispute.
No, why do you think Oliver did that? Was it to make the actors uncomfortable because you would be uncomfortable in that situation?
No. Well, I don't. Woody and Juliet are killers. Tommy Lee was the warden, and I'm Jack Scagnetti, super cop killer, super cop /
Right.
murderer.
Yeah.
So they weren't really uncomfortable.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And why would he put us with the inmates? For authenticity. Why did he introduce us to John Wayne Gacy? Was I remember we all felt the same way, which was why. I mean, I didn't want to meet him.
I think you got to meet him.
No, I didn't want to meet him.
No?
Oliver said, you got to see his Hi-Ho paintings. They're just really great. All these clowns.
That's a great Oliver Stone.
You got to see these. He's a great painter. Really, Oliver's a great painter? He went,
Yeah.
no, he's not really a great painter.
Yeah.
He's, just that he paints is interesting.
For a child killer, he's a great painter.
I said, he killed teenagers.
Yeah. That's true.
16 to 19.
Yeah.
He was pretty specific. He would promise those guys jobs with his contracting company. So they were young men.
And he would get them to. He would. I want to show you a magic trick, and he would convince them. You're right. They were. And he would convince them and tie them up. And
No
the
one wants to
magic
see
trick.
a
I know all this stuff. I know all this stuff because Oliver
He made you study it.
he educated us. He handed out a John Wayne Gacy dossier on. I remember Woody reading and going, Oliver, what's the point? And he went, just read it. It's fucking wild. He had 33 kids underneath his where he buried them right underneath. What do they call it?
Porch or
crawl
something?
space.
The crawl space?
The crawl space. The
yeah.
crawl space. Yeah, in his house.
Man.
And the smell alerted the neighbors. The bad smell.
How did he not? How did he get used to that?
How did he live in it?
Yeah, how do you get used to that?
I saw a documentary finally on that thing like a couple years ago, and this one neighbor said the smell was fecund. It was you could smell it from like 200 yards, and the whole neighborhood got together basically and said, "What's in his house?" And someone said, "Call the police." And they said they thought he was a deer hunter, and they said this weirdo's probably got dead deer in there somewhere. So they showed up that night. The police did, and they smelled it too, and they put him in handcuffs, and they took the handcuffs off him. because he said there's nothing down there but dead animals. And he held to that later. He said, I didn't lie. Dead.
Yeah, technically.
And that evening, they found the first 16 bodies.
I wonder how long the neighborhood,
Then
they
he's-
smelled in the neighborhood before they called the
Yeah, I
cops.
know.
It had to be
I
going
think-
on
I think
for a
they,
while,
they,
right?
They talked about that. The neighbors were very. It's the same thing with Dahmer. You know, those neighbors smelled that too, and they were freaked out and afraid. You know, they were. It's called the Jeffrey Dahmer Files on Netflix, where the officer who was not at the scene but who interviewed him from the day he was arrested until he was sentenced.
We had that
He
guy
only
on.
talked to one guy. You've seen him?
Yeah, we interviewed.
We had him on.
Patrick Kennedy.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
dead
he died.
now.
He just died this year.
We loved him too.
I
think
love him.
2014.
We
He's
love
like
the guy.
6'7".
I love that guy.
He's
was
a
a
gigantic guy.
Giant, huge guy.
I love that guy.
Dropped dead of a heart attack about a year
You're
ago.
joking me.
No,
No.
we loved him too. We couldn't wait for him to come back to New York. He was great.
You're
Great
kidding me.
storyteller.
Now, we talked to him for what, 40
Did
minutes?
he have the
whatever?
handle? Did he have,
long-
did he have the
big
handlebar mustache?
Yeah,
Giant
that's the guy.
Giant guy.
I've watched that Jeffrey
Positive.
Dahmer. I've watched that thing several
Patrick
times just to
Kennedy.
watch him.
Yeah, he was amazing.
He was wonderful.
He was so authentic and so
He had a relationship
honest
with
about his
Dahmer.
empathy. When he was so honest about his empathy he felt for him, I mean, it was so authentic. You know,
Right.
a lot of people say, "How could you have empathy for a man like this?" And do you see the thing?
I didn't
Yeah, he
see
said he cried when Dahmer died. It was a weird thing. Yeah.
yeah. But and in the documentary, he by the time he's done explaining why he had these emotions for him, you really understand why he did, which would be a difficult thing to explain. He was a very smart guy, and he's dead, really.
Yeah, I thought the documentary was so good because he was describing, when he was describing the night that Dahmer got arrested,
Yeah.
he was describing the weather, and there was something about his description. I'm like,
Yeah.
he just made you feel like you were
And
there.
the coroner also did a good job. Remember, the coroner was talking about disasters. That was the word he used. When a disaster happens, and he explained what a disaster meant to a municipality. Remember that?
I don't remember the coroner, no.
Okay, he's very, very forgettable. He's a very like a monotonic guy, but he was counterpointed with the poor guy who died.
Okay.
And Milwaukee could not handle what happened there. I mean, the press, the bodies, and not knowing who the bodies were, and then the bones, the heads, and putting the bodies. It was just like he said, it was a disaster for Milwaukee, and he didn't think they ever recovered in his time as the coroner.
Oh, as a city or
as
a
a
state,
city,
yeah.
as a city.
Wow.
Whatever happened to that house?
They knocked it down. They knocked
They,
his
they
apartment
tore it
complex.
down. It was an apartment
The
complex.
whole apartment. So they
They
made
had
everyone.
They had everyone. They got everybody. It's in the documentary. They had everybody in a new place, right?
And I don't remember that.
Remember the black gal who was his buddy, who was his pal. And
yes, I do remember
yeah,
that.
she was a crack. She was at the time. She was addicted to crack, and remember she talks about being addicted to crack. Anyway, she's his
I'd say
friend.
it
She
again.
was Jeffrey's friend, and she was the only one in the complex who was his friend. And she's at the very end of the show. Her and what's his name again?
Patrick Kennedy.
They both wept when they heard that Dahmer had been murdered, and it was just very moving. I mean,
Were there holdouts?
The
Imagine there was holdouts in the apartment complex.
no,
Like,
everybody
I'm not leaving.
everybody wanted to move.
I'm sure
The tourists,
you would
people
assume.
coming by and gawking at their
The
place.
hotel is still there. It's across from the Eagle Ballroom, which is a concert venue. I've played it a couple times. The hotel where he had
He killed the one guy.
He killed the one guy in the hotel. I think it's called the
It's
Ambassador.
bizarre too. He killed that guy. He walks in with a guy. He checks in the same concierge. He goes downstairs in the morning. He goes, "I need a big suitcase, a really big suitcase." And the guy goes, "What for?" And he goes, "For some big stuff." So he directs him to a luggage place. He goes and gets it. He comes back, saws the guy in half, puts him in a suitcase, cleans up, asks for a later checkout, comes downstairs. Remember this? And he wheels the suitcase right by the.
I don't remember any of it. I only remember Patrick Kennedy is the thing I remember from that documentary.
Did you watch the whole documentary?
Oh, yeah, before we interviewed him.
Okay, you remember when he goes to see the goldfish and he watches the fish eating each other? That's where he first got the idea of eating things.
Oh, wow.
And he used to go around and see aquariums all the time. And then he starts breaking into department stores and talking and dealing with mannequins. And he's figuring out how to eviscerate them. And he steals a mannequin one night. Well, they have a double playing Dahmer, but it's really good. It's really well done. You know those things where they go. It's what do they call it?
Dramatizations.
A re-dramatization, yeah. And they show him stealing these mannequins, and then Patrick Kennedy, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Patrick Kennedy goes, Jeffrey told him that he practiced on the mannequins how to make sex zombies. He was trying to make sex zombies because a lot of them died from blunt trauma from a
drill.
The drill,
he
yeah.
was drilling him in the hippocampus.
What was he injecting into their head?
He wasn't a doctor. See, he worked at a chocolate factory, and I thought he was taking some risky chances.
Yeah, not qualified.
So he couldn't kill them before he did it because he wanted them to be alive. So he was practicing on these mannequins, and Kennedy said, "Well, Jeffrey, the mannequins aren't people," and he said, "I know. I figured that out when I killed my first person. I mean, when he died, he calls him that." He calls him an asshole. He said, "This guy, to Kennedy, he goes, this asshole died on me, and all I was doing was putting a small indentation in his head with a drill." Small indentation in his head with a drill, and he
was hoping that would have worked.
And he realized, no, he said this: he didn't need to go as deep.
Oh,
so because he wanted him to be alive,
right?
And he'd done some cursory, as Kennedy said it, some cursory medical studies at the library, where books he wouldn't check out. He'd go to the library and read.
Wasn't he putting stuff in their heads too? A chemical?
Yes.
What was the chemical?
That was later when he was. It wasn't an embalming fluid. It was a fluid that would heal up it would heal a wound and make the skin come back. So he didn't want them to have imperfect skin. So he wanted to drill them in the head. They don't die, and then put that fluid in there and have it fill back up. So when he kissed them, he could. Wow.
He could have just got some spackle.
He could have gotten some spackle, or he just could have just been a necrophiliac and just.
Right. Or.
Well, Kennedy asked him, he goes, "Why didn't you just want to have sex with them when they were dead?" He goes, "I tried that and it just wasn't the same."
Oh, my God.
Really? He didn't get us turned on?
He was open-minded, though. I'll say that. Dahmer was definitely not a closed-minded guy.
Wow.
He explored options.
Where's it? What's
and
that?
he also took heads to work,
Yeah.
right, to the chocolate factory in a bowling bag, right, and put him in his locker.
Well, that's when, this is the funny part, was when he tells Kennedy in the documentary, he goes, "Well, everybody's going to find out, so I just should tell you now. There's 17 bodies in there." And Kennedy went, "Oh, come on. You're out of here." And I went, "You know what I'm going to do, Jeffrey? I'm going to leave the room. I'm going to give you a chance to get familiar with the truth." And he goes out. Remember this part?
Yep.
And his cell phone rings, and it's the police chief who's gone over there. And he goes, "Patrick, someone just opened the refrigerator, and there's 5 heads in the refrigerator."
Oh, my God.
And we found in his bookcase some torsos. And Kennedy goes, "Well, then," he's such an interesting man. He goes, "I stopped for a moment, and I went, well, then it's all different now. I have to go back in there." And I went back and I went, "Jeffrey, you and I have to become friends." And he goes, "Somebody told you, didn't they?" And Kennedy says, "I knew then that I realized I just should tell him, be forthright with him." He goes, "Someone opened the refrigerator." And he said, "I told them not to when I was being arrested, to stay out of the refrigerator."
Right, like
It was
going to
be
hungry or
it was
something.
going to be alarming. It was going to be alarming, and anybody who, he actually said this, anybody who had a weak stomach might want to refrain from being in the room.
Oh, God.
I mean, one of the things that Kennedy liked about Dahmer, I mean, he was insane, was that he was courteous, he was very well spoken, he spoke perfect English, and he was a gentleman, and he knew he was deeply sick, and he was glad he was caught.
Right.
And he was also, wasn't he adamant, too, about not being a pedophile because of that Loation? But was he Loation, the kid that got out and Dahmer didn't realize how young he was? And that was
And the police gave him back to him.
Yeah. There was
Yeah,
that was
bleeding
He
in the
was
street.
bleeding from his rectum with a pair of underwear on.
Yeah.
No shoes, no shirt. And he said, "It's my boyfriend, and we had an argument." And he was obviously underage. He was 15. And they said, "How old is he?" And Dahmer said, "He's 18 years old." I mean, you think and the kid's going, "No, no, no." And they said, "Here."
How does that happen?
That's just
Those cops got in trouble.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a terrible guilt, too. That
He
cop
took
was
him
that.
right back to his house and cut off his head. No drilling for him.
That's if you're the kid, you got to go for the cop's gun or do something that's going to get you arrested.
Right.
In that moment, you got to do something that's going to get you
He
arrested.
probably wasn't thinking very clearly.
That's a good point. Yeah, he's half naked with a fucking serial killer.
Well, he had started drilling him in the head, so he had like an indentation. And he,
Oh, my
while he was having sex with him,
Right.
and he took him back to his room. This is a really unpleasant conversation. But then
It's kind of fascinating that you know this much about it.
well, you watch the documentary and you know about it. But then I looked up Kennedy's because I was so taken with that detective.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he never stood up. It's all a medium shot, so you never know he's 6'7". I mean, he talks about how he could handle himself, and that Dahmer made him feel very small. That someone with this kind of psychopathology it didn't matter how big a man you were or how calm you were under pressure. That if someone was this obsessed with killing you, you would end up dead.
He would drug them too, wouldn't he?
He gave him the typical Rohypnol.
Oh, just to give him a drink with something in it.
He had to be a little charming to get the guys back to his place. I mean, we go to the cruise the great.
He wasn't a bad-looking guy.
Right. Blonde hair, bring him back to get him back, and then
he had a very cheap apartment, and he had kind of a well-paying job. He made like $52,000 a year, and he spent every dollar he had on like nightclubs and adorning his. He was making his room into a sex museum. His apartment. He was going to make the walls out of skin. I mean, he had this whole elaborate idea. It's in the documentary.
Odd guy, though.
It's in the documentary. He had a mini construction of his apartment, of how it was going to be. These dead bodies and these sex zombies. They standing there in robes with erections.
I get why you'd want that, but it's just not realistic.
yeah.
Did you just say that?
Yeah, I mean, total control over other people, sure.
You want to make a sex museum in your apartment with women, right?
No, the skin I couldn't get, but just the idea of having total control over sexual that's a fantasy every person would have. But to actually think you're going to do it.
But they can't talk or anything. All they can say is, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of furthering my point. Yes.
Imagine how creepy that would be to come home to every night after your job.
I'm with Jim on this now that I think about it. I think it sounds kind of interesting.
What's in the
Well,
apartment?
the only word you can say is yes.
The apartment.
What about an honest thief?
Yeah.
We'll get there later.
Fuck that.
Opie, I knew you were going to say it. I knew it.
The apartment complex, in my own mind, I'm obsessed with it. What's there now? Is it just
I think it's just there's nothing.
Empty
It's just
lot or
flat
whatever?
ground.
They don't have
It's just an empty
they
lot.
don't have a plaque there saying this is the spot where.
Well, I'm sure people still go by though,
Yeah.
even though the apartment complex is gone.
It's an empty spot where they have built there was a freeway near it. They built what's next to a freeway? It's called where you drive next to
On-ramp?
No, the service drive.
road.
Service drive.
Oh,
Service
okay.
drive.
I know the hotel. They get pissed because people go in there and let me in a Jeffrey Dahmer room. They still do it. I think it's still called the Ambassador.
I
if
wanted
I'm
to
not
go there and do
mistaken.
that actually.
Yeah. People just go in there all
Believe
the
it or
time.
not,
There's a lot of people that do that. They found these hotels where
listen,
horrific shit went down and they
exactly
want to stay in that room.
that he's talking about. They have like 15 or 16 people every day who want that room.
Did you when you wanted to be Casey? Stone wanted. Oh, you didn't want to meet him, but Stone wanted you because of the vibe of the movie. He just
I
figured,
guess, or he just thought we would want to meet him. I mean, Oliver was very eccentric, and I think I don't mean this in a bad way. He's kind of selfish, and that if he wanted to do something, he thought you wanted to do it
Right.
too. You know those kind of guys.
Yeah.
And you're growing up, they go, "Hey, let's go jump off this building into the water over there by the."
It seemes like that because you guys were filming there, it's like, whoa, John Wayne Gacy's here. Why don't we try to meet him?
But he killed 34 boys.
Yeah, no kidding.
Did he? Were the inmates good, or were any of them a problem?
That's when they. What's that?
Were any of the inmates a problem, or were they all great for the film?
There were no problems at all.
No, they were all great, right?
No, they were all great. It was mainly the El Rukins. They were the El Rukins that they had.
Their gang?
Yeah, I don't know much about gangs, but they're called EL, capital RUKINS. They made up the majority of the inmates because they had a real rules of conduct as gang members, and they had a leader in the prison. His name was Big Load. That was his name. Big was his first name, and Load was his last name. I don't think it was his real name.
I'm sure.
But his cell, because when Tommy Lee Jones and I are walking through the prison, remember we're walking, it's a long walk and talk. At a certain point, we end up where the prisoners are and their cells are, and his cell was on the left. You don't see it, but his cell, what he had done is he had knocked down 2 walls. So he had taken 3 cells. They allowed him to do that. Prison. The inmate, the warden told us the inmates run this prison. All I do is keep them from going over that wall. My guards are not to engage in any, activities with these prisoners. If they start fighting, we wait until the fight's over, and then we go in and take them out. We don't stop anything because they were totally outmanned, and that prison was so overcrowded, and everybody there was a psychopath. That this guy had knocked down the walls and taken 3 cells and made it into 1 cell, and it was immaculate. And he had TVs, big screen TV. He had pornos. Because I went in his cell. He went, "Hey, come here, Sizemore. Let me show you my suite." And I said, and Oliver went, "Go on. Yeah."
That's Oliver encouraged you to go.
Go on.
Sounds like Jonathan, right?
Tom Lee said, "Don't go in there, Tom. Don't go in there. You may not come out." And I went, Tommy, come with me. He went, I got no truck with no killers. And actually, okay, so I went in there and he didn't kill me. I'm here. And
Right, he was probably nice to you, right?
yeah, he was really nice to me. He said, "What do you think of my aesthetics?"
They let him do that because that probably kept
He
him.
used the word aesthetics. and I did it like a take on aesthetics, and he went, surprised that beep like me knows what aesthetics means. I went, no. And he went, you BSer, so you are too. And he weighed like probably 450 pounds. And he said, are you hungry? And he had these wraps, these chicken wraps with this, like you see those mafia movies where the guys are eating steak?
Sure.
Yeah.
He was that guy. And he was the El Rukin's leader, and he, in the first take, someone from the upper tier who wasn't an El Rukin threw a thing of milk down, and it hit right in front of Tommy Lee. They were trying to throw it at us, and it was kind of called an uproar, and cut, and we all kind of like ran back, and then Big Load came out, and he went, what do you call them, fellas, behave. If you don't, you're going to be killed.
Wow.
And I'm going to expedite it.
Wow.
Aesthetics and expedite.
Wow.
Wow.
And these guys behaved. They went back in their cells and they went through milk at us.
Did they allow him to make the cell that big just because that kind of kept him keeping the gang?
That prison was like, I think, unlike any other prison maybe in America. Because they took the prisons back sometime in the late 90s. In California. I think they went across the country. There was a period in America after Attica where the inmates kind of had a lot of autonomy because they realized that they couldn't arm the guards because it took those prisoners a long time to figure out, like, we could take a gun from one of these guards and start killing them. Because at Pleasant Valley State Prison, where I was for 7 months, there was, for every inmate, for every guard, there was like 700 inmates. Some insane number. Where they were the only guns in the prison were the guys in the towers, and the guards didn't even have mace on them. If something happened, they went and got those guns with the rubber bullets in them, the block bullets. So it was crazy.
How was your time in prison? How did you pass the time?
It was in all honesty, I really can't. I don't think there are any words to describe how demoralizing and soul destroying. Well, maybe not destroying. I didn't destroy my soul, but I was very cognizant of the fact that I wanted to leave there on my date, and I wanted to leave there as much as I became aware that I could leave there conceivably not the same person at all. Wow, because it was so scary, and the violence is imminent. It's always there, and I was in general population because if you want to be in protective custody in prison, there is none. You go to the hole, which is administrative segregation, and you're cut off from. And I went there initially because they made me, and then I had to get out of there. I had to sign away. I signed a document saying I would relieve the state of California from any culpability or if I was harmed.
You really wanted to be with the other people. You were like,
no, I didn't want to be with the other people. I didn't want to be in that hole.
But the hole was so bad.
It was so horrible.
That
I mean, there's absolutely no human contact. I mean, you don't see a human face. When you get handcuffed to take your 1 shower a week, you put your hands through the hole, and it's not a cell, it's a door, and you back out. You don't even see his face, and you hear no human voices. So, I mean, I started to break down really quickly.
Right, you were in it like 23 hours a day to even
No.
more.
You get an hour of yard alone a week.
One hour a week.
1 hour a week and 1 shower a week.
Wow. And then it's just...
And no light into the cell itself? Into the hole?
There was a light in the hole.
But I mean, no sunlight coming in?
No sunlight, nothing. Wow. And listen, this is how bad it got. I was on day like 12, and I was writing in my journal. I was writing a letter, and I'll show Jim here. I spelled my name like this. And I couldn't stop doing it.
It's an O, a big capital T, and then a tiny M after it. Wow.
And I couldn't stop doing it. And I mean, I started to trip. I mean, I was crying. It's the only time I banged on my door and went, and I started, and I'm not joking, like the guy in Clouseau. I didn't start going like this, but I started going like,
You're blinking a little.
Like the blinking, like the.
I wasn't blinking. I was doing
and
this.
tilting your head to the side.
Yeah,
and
and
down.
like I was being crushed.
Right.
And I was having. Drew told me it was a breakdown. It was not a nervous breakdown. It was I can't remember the term for it. There's a specific term for it. It's a short term thing that happens when you're under incredible stress. And it wasn't post-traumatic stress disorder. It was my central nervous system was shutting down. That's what he said it was, but there's a word for it. And had I continued to stay there, he said you could have had a stroke.
Wow.
The stress would have, because it's stress. Like my whole body had broken out in these red dots, and they weren't hives; they were from stress.
How long did you last in there in the hole?
I was in there for 18 days.
That was all in 18 days.
Yeah, but and day 7 is when I made the OTM.
Right.
And on I think it was like day 10 or something, I started doing the and it went on to Opie like this for like all day. I would go.
You're playing, sort of crunching your
Yeah,
whole
it's like kind of like
face.
just.
And then I would get down here, and it
Moving
would
to
take
the side.
it would take a Herculean effort for me to go.
And get out of it.
Anyone ever had that thing when they're sleeping, and you feel that weird thing, you're sleeping, and you think you got to wake up or you're gonna die.
Yeah, you can't when you can't move.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
feel numb. Yeah.
You're you're asleep, but you're aware that you're asleep, and you go,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, you guys?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, it was like that, but it wasn't. I'm awake. I'm not sleeping, but to get from when I finally would be in this position where I'd be like, to get out of it, I had to do the same type of thing. You know, I don't know how
shock yourself back to
you
reality.
you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
You kind of go
So-
like, you got to get yourself together and go, I'm going to do it. I'm going to wake up, and you go, ugh.
Yeah.
What was the thing about the hole that caused this, you think? Obviously, a horrible situation to be
Okay.
in, but what was the actual specific thing that you just couldn't take that got your body going like this?
I think it was a combination of that I put myself there with drug use, that I had no one to blame but myself. Okay, that I'd broken my mother's heart. I'd broken my own heart. It was the first time I took, I got sober. Not then. I got sober like 18 months later, and then had a relapse, a brief one. But that was when I finally realized I had to get sober. I mean, because I was in denial that these drugs had put me there. I thought Heidi put me there, or the police had put me there. I put me there. It was those were my choices.
Right.
You know, they told me you got to stop doing this. This judge gave me an enormous amount of latitude to fix myself. I mean, to get it together. And he put me in treatment like 5 times. The state paid for it, and he didn't want to do it to me. You know, and he thought that all my issues and my problems were drug related, and he was right. I mean, I have issues like everyone does that that are normal. Like I don't like getting older. You know what I mean. I have my siblings and I argue. Certain. I have body issues.
Basic stuff that we all go through.
I put on 10 pounds and I don't want to go out.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's certain stuff that's just human stuff, but these other larger issues, about, for instance, watching porn 24/7. I used to go over to a buddy of mine's house and he'd have porn on at 2 p.m. And this is when I lived in Manhattan. He's an actor. I'm not going to tell you his name. And he didn't do drugs. He was just a weirdo. And he's not my friend anymore. I thought he was a weird.
I need to know which actor.
Listen, I'm telling you, the first time I went to his apartment, I met him on a movie. Right at the beginning of my career.
That narrows it
And
down.
he
Early in the career. Good.
He kind of talks like this. Anyway, I went over there.
I'm going to look this up. Someone's going to get it now. You gave too many clues.
He's on a show right now.
You want to tell us?
I know. I don't like it.
Was he ever masturbating when he had the porn on when you were there?
No, but I waited for it. He had his shirt off once, but the first time I went to visit him in his apartment, I just became friendly with him. I walk into his apartment on 11th and Perry, 11th and I lived on Perry and Hudson, 11th and what?
It don't matter.
You know where the patisserie is over there?
11th Avenue or 11th Street?
11th Street over there. Perry and Hudson's right by the White House Tavern. I had an apartment right there. You go down a block.
What year was this about?
1989, 1990.
When did you do what?
Born on the 4th of July.
It's an actor from Born on the 4th of July. Oh my God, we're
You can
getting
figure it out now.
close.
It talks like this.
Oh yeah, okay. People mispronounce his name all the time.
It's not Willem Dafoe.
How do you
Oh,
pronounce?
that's what I thought.
How do you
No, it's not
pronounce-
him.
How do you pronounce Tom Cruise?
It wasn't Tom Cruise.
No, Tom Cruise.
He was in The Crow.
Wasn't Frank Whaley.
He was in The Crow.
Why can't we get this?
Come on, you guys.
Oh, fuck, The Crow.
Who we just interviewed from The Crow? Ernie Hudson.
Oh, is it Ernie Hudson? No.
No.
I know it is. Whatever.
Ernie Hudson's a gentleman.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Wait, so tell us more. So then.
Okay, so I go up there.
Right.
I'm a young actor and young guy. I'm 25 or 26 years old, and this guy was in The Road, this play, and he was a happening New York actor. He was in talk radio, and I go up there and I walk into his apartment, and I hear walking. I hear this music, and I went, "That sounds like porn music. What is that?" You know, it is porn music. And we walk down the hallway, and we come in, and he had one of them big TVs. They were flat screens.
Right.
And there's some girl having 7 guys come in her face at once.
Jeez.
He was on the cum shot compilation part.
Oh, wow. Right.
you have your menu of things you can watch. He just skipped that. He skipped the movies. He skipped the cum shot compilation, slow motion. Okay, it's in slow motion, and he could zoom in on it.
Right.
Jim. You know, you can
Yeah,
the DVD
sure.
where you can like zoom in,
Yeah.
and keep the pixelization,
Yeah.
and slow it down, and the music doesn't slow down. The music's going walking. The groans though are slowed down, so you hear like, "I'm gonna," in the slow mo. And then he had zoomed in on it, so it's just the dicks. It's just the dicks and her face, and I was stunned. I stood there like. Anyway, you like it?
Do you think he was trying to get into something weird?
No, I think he's.
Just a bizarre guy.
Yeah.
This is
But
weird.
what did you say when he said you like it?
I went, huh?
I'm cross. Was it a Baldwin?
No.
I'm cross-referencing here. I
I'm
can't
guessing
figure this
Eric
out.
Bogosian. just
Okay, he
because
talks
said-
like this.
Eric Bogosian?
Well, he
Was
said
in-
talk radio.
But was he on Born on? He wasn't in Born on the 4th of July.
Not
was
to
he?
my knowledge. Was he? Oh. Hold on. Wait, I can't hear the last name. Okay. I wouldn't have guessed that. I wouldn't have. I would not have known that name.
But you know who he is, right?
I've heard the name, but I couldn't.
He
put
was
his
it was
face.
happening for a while, and then
Right.
then it cooled off.
Well, he's too busy watching porn all day.
Yeah.
Listen,
can't
it
go
was
on
it was
auditions.
24/7.
So you kept going back.
Why would he go
I
back?
couldn't leave. No, I became his roommate.
Yeah. You wanted to make a fucking wallet of your
No,
skin.
I never went back to his apartment again.
What was in it for you
What?
to go over there into that weird
Well,
situation?
I liked him, and I just
Said, hey, we'll go.
I just ignored it. I mean,
Yeah.
I sat down and I said, you know what? I can't eat this quiche. Can we turn the porn off for a second? Yeah. It's Sunday at 2 in the afternoon. I mean,
It's
isn't
some football on.
Isn't porn isn't
Pistons are on.
Isn't a porn a nighttime activity?
Yeah.
They're playing the
A
Lakers.
cocaine activity? I thought it was a cocaine nighttime activity after 2.
Yeah.
And he went, "What are you talking about?" And I went, "Nothing. I'm gonna go to the patisserie." And he went, "You don't want this quiche? I made this quiche." I went, "Can you turn off the porn?" And he went, "You know what I don't like? I don't like people telling me or judging me and shaming me and that I'm doing something wrong." I went, That doesn't say you're doing anything wrong. I'm just saying for entertainment fare right now, it's not entertaining to me. I think it's beautifully done. I think these actors are just lovely. They're kind of like, Burton and Taylor. It's just gorgeous stuff. It's gorgeous stuff. It's like the Midnight Express. It's just great. I remember saying these things to him, thinking he'd get my cynicism, and he went, "You're running me down. You're judging me, and you're shaming me."
Wow.
And he was very, what's the word? These guys had a victim complex.
Yeah, sure did.
And I said, "No, I'm not. I just don't think it's, you don't think it's right?
Or, yeah.
You're judging me. You're a Calvinist or some shit like that." A Calvinist?
Why would he invite you over and have the porn on? That seems like he was.
Well,
looking for
I wasn't the
maybe
first one he did
something.
it to. He did it to somebody else.
So what was that
He
about?
did. I think he may have done it to Willem. Willem went, "Hey, you go over? Did he have on his favorite films?" Fucking freaky, huh? I stood there for like an hour and a half just tripping, man. I wanted to watch the guy and go, "Who is this guy?"
Wow.
And he's going, "Hey, watch this part." Like watching the scene in Deer Hunter with it. Hey, let's watch the scene when they play the Russian roulette. And he's like, "Hey, let's watch the scene where Seika gets
Yeah. It's another type of shot to the head, so it's a great call.
Remember Seika?
Oh, yeah, I know her.
Jim, you do not.
She's a friend of mine. I wrote the forward to her book.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, or one. She had like 2 forwards or something. Yeah,
That's so ironic that I said her name.
I love her.
'Cause she was my first favorite porn star.
Mine too. She was a
Yeah.
goddess. A
Yeah, she
goddess.
was- I thought she was this ice blonde beauty. I remember thinking, why is this woman doing porn? She's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I was a teenager, I believe.
She had the curly hair in some videos, then the long straight hair in a few of the later
Is she
years
tall?
when she did
She
club.
seemed tall.
I don't remember how tall she is.
But she seemed tall in those videos. And the first porn star I ever met, who I ended up liking too, was Vanessa Del Rio.
I've never met her with her giant clit. I do like her though. I loved her big clit.
I didn't know she had a big clit when I met her.
Jimmy
When
appreciates a good
I met her.
big clit.
I met her. I lived on Clinton and DeGraw, and when I first moved to New York in '84.
Yeah.
And I went to this gym out there, and I forget the name. I used to know the name of the gym, but you know where Clinton and DeGraw is? It's in It's in Cobble Hill. Cobble Hill's right outside of Brooklyn Heights.
Right.
So you walk down Clinton Street, which goes all the way to Montague, and you cross Atlantic, and you go about 3 more blocks, and there's DeGraw. It was 353A was my first apartment, Clinton Street, and Court Street was 1 block from there, and then a block from Court Street going this way was the gym. So I'm in there, right? I joined this gym. I'm 22 years old, and I'm brand new to New York. I have this apartment with my girlfriend, and we moved there from Temple University to be actors. And I joined the gym, and I'm working out one Sunday afternoon, and this, I thought, very attractive, kind of like middle-aged gal comes in, Puerto Rican,
Yeah.
and I wasn't in love with my girlfriend, obviously, because I went over and said, "You need a spot?" And I was skinny and stuff. And she said, you can do better than that, can't you? And I said, Seika, Inside Seika, the Platinum Princess of Porn. I directed that. Oh, no, Jim did.
Lovely, lovely girl.
You wrote the forward to her book?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm buying this when I leave here.
All right, go back to
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
You know her that well, huh?
Yeah, she.
Is it a good book?
Yes, she sent me. I
I'm
read a
not
galley
interested in
copy way
I'm
before.
not interested in the sex part of it. I'm just interested. Is she an interesting person?
Yeah, her life was actually pretty interesting. I mean, she's a very normal, nice lady. I mean, she's oddly, she's not exactly like you picture her.
I met a very oddly enough. Her name is Asia.
Akira. She's on David Show's podcast with him. She's hilarious on Twitter.
She's a really regular,
yeah,
really truly regular person.
very educated, really bright.
Yeah, exactly. She went to. Didn't she go to an Ivy League college?
I believe she did.
She
yeah.
did.
Comes from a good family.
And she actually made a choice
To go into porn.
and did not do drugs.
She's hilarious
I mean,
on Twitter.
most of those porn stars, I messed around with a couple of them when I was doing drugs. They do drugs to do the porn.
They just can't stand it.
I don't know if they can't stand it or they can stand it. I mean, they
Just relaxes them.
it makes it tenable.
Right.
And the drug that you have to do is methamphetamine. That's the drug that allows you to you know that's true, right, Jim?
I never did meth.
But you know that it allows you to have sex, unlike cocaine, which makes it sometimes very
Kills your
difficult.
cock, yeah.
Okay, we can be really frank here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cocaine's a cock killer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I spent.
Meth is okay though, for sex.
Yeah, it doesn't have any negative. It has actually very positive impact on your penis.
Better than ecstasy.
Positive penis drug.
Better than ecstasy.
Better than
Take it.
ecstasy. More sustained. You can pop maybe sometimes 3 in a row if you're really, really turned on. I mean, pop and not lose it. Pop again.
Really?
Early in the addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, early. Later, it doesn't work at all.
How many porn-
Like all drugs, it stops working, both sexually and as a drug.
How many porn stars do you think you messed around with, if you had to guess?
What's your name?
Jim.
Jim Florentine. Very
Jim
funny comic.
Florentine.
I'm
Jim,
curious.
I didn't meet you.
I idolize you. I mean, I know you.
You don't idolize me.
Yes, I do.
You don't idolize. Comics don't idolize anybody.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely
Some of
what?
The films you've
Absolutely
done.
what?
He's been here an hour. You haven't met him yet?
I don't listen. I didn't introduce myself. I came in here.
He's a very funny
to a buzzsaw of cock talk. To a buzzsaw of cock
It's
talk.
actually the new name of the show.
Cock talk. Opie's hour of cock talk with Jim the comic and Jim Norton.
You've been
What's
in
your
some
last
of my
name?
favorite movies, Florentine. You've been in some of my favorite
You like the
movies ever.
Florentine?
No, that's my last name.
He did a movie called The Florentine.
I know
Tom
you
did
did,
a movie called The Florentine, yeah.
Yeah, I did the movie with Florentine.
Yes, True
with,
Romance.
True Romance is a great movie.
Natural Born Killers.
Great movie.
And Heat is one of my favorite
I think
movies of all time.
Heat might be one of the 10 best movies ever made. Well, it's one of the best heist movies ever
Absolutely.
made.
That heist scene is unbelievable.
And
The
all
whole
the
movie,
all the
relationships
performances
in the movie, just everything was
Yeah,
was
Dennis
great.
Haysbert and his
I want that paper when he's
It's
done.
just circles. A lot of
it
circles.
says Heat, it says Asia, it says Call Seika.
Tom Sizemore has been doodling the entire time.
No, it doesn't say Call Seika.
And me and Jim
My
Norton are
girlfriend,
just
listen,
watching you doodle.
Melissa, I'm joking.
Okay. Hey,
I have a very serious girlfriend, and I really adore her.
Yeah,
Melissa,
Seika's married anyway.
Yeah,
She's
don't worry
out of that
about it.
life.
hang on a second. Melissa, I love you, and I was just joking about. I was trying to make a joke.
She's good. Could you tell us about the cocaine and the cock?
But Jimmy,
Sizemore.
All right, so we
Sizemore. You were
Cocaine,
gonna-
okay, I was in
you
the
were
Four
gonna talk
Seasons
about-
once.
You were going to talk about
I was in the Four
cocaine and the
Seasons
cock.
once. Cocaine killer. The
Right.
cocaine killer. It wasn't a man. I mean, the dick killer. It was the cocaine. The cock killer. Sure.
The cock killer.
I was at the Four Seasons once when I discovered cocaine, like 2 months after I discovered it, and I had sex on it a couple times, and it was like amazing, right? By myself though. It was sex by myself.
Oh,
watching.
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you invite that actor over?
Yeah. You're shedding skin like a snake, just throwing it.
I called the red light district the next morning. Cocaine makes you do crazy shit. I call red light district and I go, "Hey, I want to meet Chasey Lane." They went, "Who is this?" I went, "I can't tell you." But can you give her my number? Let me give you where I live. And this woman goes, "You're out of your fucking mind," and hangs up on me. And I call her back and go, "I can't give you my name. I can't. I just did a big movie called Natural Born Killers." And wow. But I want her to come over here. She goes, "Hey, listen, you fucking cocksucker. Can you?" She made me feel really this small. And I said, "I'm driving in there." And she said, "If you drive over here, I'm going to shoot you."
Wow.
I said, "Who are you?" She said, "I'm a receptionist / whore." I went, "What are you doing?" It's a true story.
I believe it. I believe it.
So 2 months after this incident, I'm at the Four Seasons, right? And something's happening that I didn't understand. My penis is getting smaller and smaller, and I'm getting hornier and hornier, and I'm calling up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girls.
Yeah, that's
Right.
good.
I spent $17,000 in a short amount of time, like a day.
Wow.
And all I got was a peanut dick. And I
just drew a peanut
got cut off by somebody, not Heidi, who said, "I can't do this to you anymore in good conscience. You've given me $17,000 and you just asked for everybody over again in different clothes."
Wow.
Wow is right.
How many
It's
you
the
think
only time
came
I ever
over?
did anything like that. Like it was
How
my-
many? 6, 7 girls maybe over there?
10 girls.
well, it started out with one.
And you couldn't get it.
So I thought two would be better.
So you couldn't get it up for any
And then, of
them.
course, they think I'm a dumb idiot, and they go, "Hey, I got friends. 5 would be good." You know, and I had I had $40,000 in my pocket.
Oh.
And she goes, "You want to spend all that?" I went, "No." She goes, "Well, you're gonna, baby, you're gonna." And they make it sound sexy because you're high.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a kid. It's the only time I ever did anything like that. I never did it again. But I never did anything crazy like that. But because when I came out of it, I was like, I spent $17,000 and I didn't even get an erection. Screw having sex.
Right.
Did you at least eat their boxes or anything?
Yeah. What did you get for your 17,000? You had to get something.
I made them all come probably like 500 times.
All right. So,
I did a lot. I kept thinking I would get an erection, but I don't really do that. You know,
You keep in touch with your
when,
old
when
guy?
when I don't like,
Yeah.
when I don't know somebody.
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah, but I was trying everything. I was like running around the room 5 times, hanging from the ceiling, then fall on my face, and maybe I'll get
Nothing, right?
nothing worked.
Nothing
Okay, everybody go
worked.
to the pool and put a bunch of water in your vaginas, and then come up here and squirt it on my face.
Yeah, waterboard me.
I'm not bullshitting you. Waterboard me with your pussy. And we'll pretend it's cum. I know it's water, but we're going to pretend it's cum.
Wow. We didn't even talk about the new movie.
Yeah, they tell us we have to wrap up.
Oh, come on. We're going to talk about Honest Steve.
We'll talk
No,
about
we're
it,
gonna-
yeah.
Opie, you.
No,
you
we're
talk about
gonna talk
I
about.
shouldn't
But
have come on here.
can he
You're
hang
not
out?
unlike Howard. You're not unlike Howard.
Right.
You get me going.
Right.
And you just exploit me.
I don't think so.
You're phenomenal.
No, we love honesty. This is amazing.
This project, by the way.
It's called an
Does
Honest
he really
Steve.
have to leave?
Yeah.
No,
Why?
I got to do it. I got to.
No, we have to talk for a few more minutes. Make sure he gets
About
the
the
movie
movie,
out.
phoner to do.
The phoner's
yeah,
not as
fuck the
important as
phoner.
this.
Pull up the phoner.
Ask my manager what's more important, this or the phoner.
Yeah,
Who's the phoner for?
I don't know.
We'll have more people listening.
Yeah,
than the
way
phoner.
more here.
Okay,
Or
so
you could call
listen.
You could call them
for
on
those
our
of you
show.
out for those of you out there who are listening just now.
Right.
We were having a good time talking about old times. This was the early '90s, but right now, 2014, I'm about to produce my first movie called An Honest Thief.
Right.
And we've raised about half the money. It's Danny Trejo starring in the movie with me and a lot of other talented actors. And we're trying to raise the money with the Indiegogo. So you go to Indiegogo.com and you type in An Honest Thief, and you'll see our page. And there's a lot of groovy and really cool perks and stuff if you get involved. You could become an executive producer. You could come to the premiere. You set visits. You could go to Tiger Stadium and see a ball game in the suite with me, or Dodger Stadium and see a ball game with Trejo. And my brother wrote the movie. It started out as an idea for a short movie for my dad. And when he lost his last sibling, he called me up and he was really upset. And he said, "I'm an orphan." And I called my brother up and I said, "We should do something for Dad. Maybe make a movie, a short film." And I thought it would just be photographs, and I do a voiceover or something. And he said, let's write a real script. He said, a short script, and you and Tom Jane will do the two parts. And Tom and I were really close at the time. We're still close, but not like we were. And anyway, long story short, he ended up writing a feature.
Wow.
And he sent it to me, and I read about 30 pages of it, and I called Tom up and went, "Tom, I'm not objective. Do you have time to come over?" He said, "No." But the next few days we got together, and we read it out loud, Tom, Jane, and I did. And he said to me, "This is a really, really a wonderful script. You should do something with this." That was 5 years ago. And as time went on, he refined it. It got even better. Tom fell out of the movie, not because we never felt as friends. He just got busy and he had some problems with Patricia, and he was going through a divorce, etc. So we started raising the money. We got some money, and then we got down the road. But everybody wanted to move. We got down the road just recently 2 times with investors who, they get you pregnant and then they don't want to have the baby because they wanted to move the movie out of Detroit. And Detroit's a character in the movie. And also, I was born and raised in Detroit, and my brother still lives in the outer environs. And as everyone, I think you all know, Detroit's had some very difficult times of late.
Yeah.
And I'm not Dan Gilbert. I can't put $1 billion in there. But the idea was to shoot the movie in Detroit and hire only Detroit people for the crew and stuff, and give a little infusion of cash to the city, and make people feel good about Detroit. And so they wanted to move the movie out of Detroit to New Orleans or Vancouver. So my manager, Charles Lago, and producing partner, and we decided to go the Indiegogo route. I wasn't very educated about it, and he educated me. And it's a great site. It's a great page, and a lot of people are getting involved. And we just started last week with the campaign, and I really mean this. If we do this movie the way we can, if this movie gets realized the way it could be realized, it could be a really great movie in the genre of Reservoir Dogs. I'm not saying it's going to be that changed the way movies were made in a way, but it has a Detroit idiom, and it's a great dialogue. It's really terrific, and I really appreciate any help you can give us, and we can do this together. We can do it.
How much money you need to raise, you think, for the film?
$1 million and change.
$1 million and change?
Yeah.
All right, so they got to go to Indigo.com, right?
That's great, man.
Indiegogo.com.
Indigo, I should say. Indigo.
Indego?
No, it's Indiegogo. It's Indigogo.
Indiegogo.com.
Yeah.
INDIE go.
An Honest Thief is the name of the movie.
And then type in An Honest Thief.
Type in An Honest Thief.
Right.
Yeah.
And your brother wrote the screenplay.
My brother wrote he's an attorney. He's not a screenwriter. And he just wrote a really great screenplay.
Wow. Is that him?
Yeah. And he's ready to go. Mad. He's mad at me. It's your fault.
Why is he mad?
Okay.
He's
So
really upset. Open the door. Is he really upset?
Is that your brother?
That's his manager.
He's really annoyed.
I got to go. So it was,
I'm sorry.
It was,
We're sorry. He's really mad. I'm sorry.
well, he's mad at me.
He might be mad that 17 grand could have went to the film.
Oh, man, that was 1992. I got to go.
I'm sorry, sir. Yeah?
Thank you very much, you guys. It was a lot of fun. I'll come back some other time.
Oh, my
that was
God.
awesome.
Always a pleasure. Tom
Awesome.
Sizemore just entertained the hell out of us.
Had to hustle out because he's late for his phoner.
I want that.
You want it?
He's got to sign that. He's got to sign his doodles.
Yeah.
I got to put that online. It's crazy. He was just making circles and all sorts of shit the entire time he was here.
What a great interview. Fuck.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. Tom Sizemore. Wow.
Him and Thomas Jane would be good together too. Too bad because he's such a fucking great actor. You know he is, right? From Boogie Nights. Awesome.
Uh-oh, the guy hung up. Here, open the door.
Oh no, what happened?
There might be a problem.
Hope Tom cursed.
I want to get a picture with him.
Tom, is there a problem?
What happened?
What happened? There's a problem. There's a problem?
What happened to the phoner?
What happened to the phoner?
He hung up on me. No, we got disconnected. He's calling right back.
He's calling him
All
back.
right. Could you sign that? Could you sign your doodles for us? For whatever. Just.
Can I come back later?
We were just saying
anytime you
how
want.
Tom. We were saying how great it was.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed
Phenomenal.
it. Okay.
The great Tom Sizemore. He's fucking phenomenal.
What happened, Sam?
The phone. He's on the air while he's in here signing the thing.
Right.
He's got his manager going, "You're on the air. You're on the air."
Right.
Trying to give him the phone.
Oh, Tom.
He's just pacing up and down the hall, doing a phone or giving us a thumbs up. He's just giving us a thumbs up.
But this hall has terrible cell phone reception.
I know, yeah.
He'll be back.
I know.
He'll be back in a minute.
He'll be back in a second. His guy, is that his brother?
No, it's his manager.
It's just his manager.
But I asked if that was your brother. He said, yeah.
I mean, he said a lot of shit.
Wanted to fuck to Vanessa Del Rio. The guy's the best.
I know.
He's awesome.
He's 15 minutes late for his phoner, and he's just gonna get disconnected the whole time.
You think he was really fucked up in some of those great movies he was in?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he was.
I wanted to ask him about that. He
De
seemed to
Niro
be-
actually came to his house to take him to rehab. I mean, De Niro tried to save him.
Wow. I wonder if he still hangs with De Niro.
And then, him and Chris Penn were the cops in True Romance.
Sure.
And Chris,
I like this Clarence. He's a wild man.
yeah, they were great in that. I wonder if they were messed up at that time, too.
Probably.
You got to think.
Probably.
In between shots, right? In between filming.
There's a weird energy with guys who he's such a good actor. Like they have this fucking unusual energy. Like I'm envious of it. It's like he could literally play anything and make it work as a fucking actor.
The shit he remembers, the details.
I know.
His stats in sports, and he knew everything about Dahmer, and he was mad at us. And like, yeah, we saw the documentary, but I saw it a year and a half ago at this point, and he had all the details still in his head. Pretty impressive.
The Opie and Anthony Podcast.
Told you he's back. Tom Sizemore back in studio to apologize for us that he had to leave our fine interview for some weird interview.
You're right. I'm very sorry, Opie, that I made a grievous error to talk to this
I told you.
this jackass in Cleveland named I can't remember his name, but I think his name was Jack, and his last name was Ass.
What did he want to talk about?
He wanted to talk about Louis Anderson and his FBI experience. I don't know what he wanted to talk about.
Why Louis Anderson?
I don't know.
Do you have a connection to Louis Anderson?
No, I don't.
Why?
I think he's funny.
Yeah.
I couldn't follow. I hung up on him. I did live radio. Live radio.
We believe you.
I'm. Listen, I'm a gentleman, and I have changed a lot. But I had a bad day on here once.
Not really.
Yeah, I did.
No, we didn't.
Jim and I had a bad moment.
We did.
But we didn't really know what was going on with you. We were trying to figure you out because we never hung out with you before.
I was newly sober, and I was super duper duper sensitive, and I reacted in a kind of a immature, combative way to a kind of innocuous thing that Jim said.
We kind of
And I apologize, Jim. And
Yeah, we did. We talked.
and you guys worked it out. We all worked it out.
Absolutely.
We love you on this show.
I listened to it that day, and it just showed me how drugs can really, even I was sober, but how it had changed me in certain ways, and I had to be cognizant of the fact that these were legitimate questions. This is journalism in its own way and entertainment, and I had reacted in a hey, what are you doing? Ask me a question like that kind of thing.
right.
And it was just oversensitive.
I've had a lot worse moments with a lot of other people.
I'm sure you have.
Oh,
If that was my worst moment I ever had, I'd be a lucky man.
yeah, I've had many worse moments.
You need a piece of paper to doodle on?
Do you want me to write some interesting doodles down for you?
We
No,
love your
I got
doodles.
this one. This is like a beautiful mind. It's fucked up.
It is like a beautiful mind, isn't it?
Tommy,
Actually, I did all
Tom
the,
is crazy.
Actually, I did all the doodles for Russell for that movie. He asked me if I would doodle for him.
Wow, I don't even know what's on this paper. I can't wait to tweet this.
Russell said I can't doodle anything, but don't pick up the phone, or I'll hit you in the head with a phone.
Tom wrapped his interview up early.
He hung up on the other one.
did.
He couldn't take them for whatever reason. They wanted to talk about Louis Anderson.
I said, do you want to talk about you want to talk about Louis Anderson?
click.
And he hung up on him.
We got to get you a better phone, I think.
I love that you got the flip phone.
Okay, hang on a second.
What's up with the flip phone?
Is that your bad boy phone?
I really feel bad about this phone now.
Why?
It makes me feel really bad because it's archaic, and I thought it was. Listen, I had a hard time with the not the iPhone. What was it called?
BlackBerry, probably.
The BlackBerry. I kept breaking it. Like if I breathed on it hard, it broke.
Right.
It seemed like it broke. This phone you can submerge in water. I did it overnight. Pick it up in the morning and call Istanbul, Turkey, and get right through. You can take this phone and drop it from a third-story window on Wilshire Boulevard.
Yeah.
And hit the ground and go down, pick it up, and call your mom. It is indestructible.
But you can't watch videos or
The
check
fuck
out
you
pictures.
can. You can do all that shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind
The
of like.
screens are smaller.
Hang on a second. I'm gonna show you a video of something I just did recently.
Uh-oh.
No, it's a movie. Oh, you're an asshole.
I thought you were in someone's apartment watching porn again.
I don't watch porn. I'm sober. You can't watch porn unless you're high. I can't watch it
Oh,
sober.
no, you'd be surprised. I've spent a lot of hours
Jim, you're a
watching.
trip. Don't admit to that.
I
Why are you
do.
telling on yourself, for God's sakes?
I have to.
It's
Coming to
part of
get
your,
caught.
it's part of your recovery.
Yeah. Rigorous
So, Tom,
hours.
I can watch porn sober too. I admit it.
Wait, is that
I
a
can't
trigger for
believe
some
it.
people?
Some people
What?
maybe, but not for me.
I
It's
don't
not
know.
a trigger. It's not a trigger. It's just that when you're sober,
Spiritual life.
you think about your mom and stuff. Like,
Okay.
I don't. Not,
That'll
you know
make,
what I mean?
that'll
Like,
make it
yeah,
last.
not-
That'll make it last longer.
when
That is true.
you're high, your inhibitions are lowered, and you do things that aren't the brightest things to do. I can't find that video. It's a movie I did just recently, and it's the guy. I was surprised that I didn't know I had video on here, and he sent it to me, an attachment, and it works as a video.
All right. I
Well,
believe
here's
you.
my girlfriend's feet.
Are
Are
you?
you a foot guy?
No, I just took a picture of her feet because I like those shoes.
Oh, so you're a
No, I just
shoe
like the
guy.
shoes.
Actually, she
I'm
has
not a
nice
shoe
feet.
guy. I just like the shoes.
Those are nice.
Let me see the shoes.
I've gotten a bit more of a foot thing as I've gotten older.
It's not a foot thing at all. It's just
No, but
some
I've got
shoes.
one.
You just appreciate some nice shoes.
You know,
Do you like shoes?
I don't care about shoes, but she does.
Have you tried them
And
on?
she went to Manolo Blahnik, and what did you say?
You never smell them.
You ever smell them?
You guys are freaks. You guys are sexually fucking in the hole, man.
Yeah.
You guys need to get laid.
Well, we're thinking if you
Somebody
take,
here needs to get laid, not me.
we're thinking if you take a picture of the shoes, the next step is to I don't know, maybe take a sniff or try them
Maybe
on.
jack off on the shoes.
I do like
And
feet.
never, Jim, are you guys serious?
Oh, 100%,
What happened
yeah.
to this show? This show used to be highbrow, I thought.
Oh, no, we're garbage. We're utter garbage.
What happened? Anthony left and the thing went in the shitter, huh?
Yeah, he took all dignity with him.
That was dignified. I thought so. And I heard that. I went, oh, he's a dignified guy. Here's my girlfriend.
Wow.
She's pretty, huh?
Let me see.
She's really pretty. Very lovely.
Yeah.
She an actress?
We were going to the pool.
Wow, wait.
No, she's
There you go.
not. She's a student. She's a physical
What high
therapist.
school?
Oh, you're out of your mind, man. She's 25 years old.
She's pretty.
She's a very, very pretty girl. She's a lovely girl. And
How long you dating her?
Very nice.
we've been together for 7 months.
25.
And
Nice.
I'm absolutely crazy about her. And I'm very, very, very fortunate to have such a lovely young woman in my life who's doesn't do drugs and, just a loving person and ambitious in her own way. Doesn't really, she cares about movies in a healthy way. It doesn't, that's not why she, and it's just great. I haven't had a really healthy relationship in a long time.
How'd you meet her?
I met her at Ralph's Supermarket.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great pickup place in Santa
The one in
Clarita.
the Rock and Roll Ralphs on Sunset.
No. I met her in Santa Clarita. And I walked up to her and I started talking to her and she went, hang on a second. No, I know who you are.
Did she really?
That's how it started.
So how do you keep
How
going?
did I combat that?
Yeah. How do you come back from that
I said,
one?
I'm not him. I lied to her. I said, I'm Michael Madsen.
Have you?
She said, no.
We love Madsen too.
No. What I did was I went outside. I saw she was checking out.
Yeah.
And I had my car and I pulled up to where they come out and I rolled my window down and she came out and she went, you don't understand English? And I said, "Comment ça va?" or something shit. I said, I don't speak foreign languages. And she went, what? I said, comment allez-vous? She went, what are you talking about? I said, what? I'm trying to speak a foreign language. What do you want me to say? I think you're really, really attractive. And would you like to have a cup of coffee? And she said, "You know what? I'm gonna have a cup of coffee with you because you are very persistent." And
you wore it down.
I didn't wear her down. She was kind of curious about me, I think. And she's 25, so she grew up with the internet stuff, and we had a nice time that afternoon, and we subsequently went and I realized I hadn't really dated somebody in a long time, like a normal person. You go on dates, you talk, and you realize if you have things in common and stuff like that, and I really love her.
Aw.
So you had coffee. You had coffee with her right after that, right when you met her that day.
That day, yeah.
That's great.
And then we went to.
You have a follow-up question, Florentine?
Nothing happened. Nothing happened for.
I think he has a follow-up question.
I was thinking nothing's happened when it finally happened. I thought it took way too long.
A week?
No.
3 hours?
No. 3 weeks.
Wow. Good for you, Tom Sizemore.
That's a while. I mean,
And like 10 dates.
Nice.
We went to Magic Mountain. I hate that shit.
Well, you know.
I absolutely hate that shit.
Oh, you're in love. If you're going to Magic Mountain, you're in
And
love.
she went, "You want to go on a roller coaster?" I hate roller coasters. I went, "Sure." She went, "I love roller coasters." I went, "I don't love them, but I'll go on it with you."
Oh, you were in love.
And the first one, it's just how cool she was. When the first one was over, she went, "Oh God, I'm so sorry." It turned like 5,000 colors green. I couldn't get out of the thing when it was over. I couldn't get out of when it stopped. I hate roller coasters.
Yeah.
I hadn't been on one since I was like 11.
Right.
And I'm 50. So I had a 41 years of no roller
39-year
coasters.
hiatus.
They got scarier.
Weren't you worried about puking on your date?
I didn't think about puking until I was on the roller coaster, and I went, "Oh my God, I'm going to puke." I thought a lot of bad things were going to happen. I just closed my eyes and went, "It'll end." My mind said, "It'll end soon. It'll end soon," and then that stopped because it was so. And I just started going like this, not in that fun way, in that scared way. But you can't hear anything. She didn't know until we were done, and she got off, and I was still sitting there like this, and she went, "Oh God," and I guess she said I looked kind of green, and she went, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Sure." She said, "Come on," and I couldn't get up. I was just so thrown for a loop. And she got me up and she said, "Let's go again." No, she didn't. Let's do it all day. So we went on the roller coaster or whatever. And that was,
So that
was a little special, like little moment. She's a really considerate, kind person. And so we went on the merry-go-round after that. And we went on the merry-go-round.
And the teacups.
Yeah.
we went on the tin cups, the merry-go-round. And
Just to calm you down, you went on the teacups.
we went on the teacups, the merry-go-round. And
A little choo-choo.
I don't even like going on the
Ferris wheel, no.
Oh, fuck that.
fuck that shit,
I'm
man.
not a ride guy.
They start up there. They stop you up there to put someone new on.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And the person's slow.
Yeah.
You're up there going like this.
Yeah.
You're dangling, and it's awful.
Moving back and forth.
It just seems like something more bad things would happen at those places. Maybe they do. We just don't hear about them.
They do. The local ones, especially.
There's a massive
How
one
about
in
the ones that
Vegas.
come into town?
That's what I mean. Those are the ones where a bolt
the
always
carny- the
pops
carny-
and someone goes flying.
Yeah.
They got to shut the damn thing down.
I went to one of those in Tennessee. 'Cause my mother's relatives are from Tennessee, and I was like 11 years old, and you could shoot the baskets, and I was a pretty good free throw shooter. And I'm shooting, and I'm with my uncle Barry, who was only like 8 years older than me, and he was a pretty good basketball player too. And none of us could make a basket. And finally, my uncle RD, who was from Tennessee, went, He finally found us. He goes, "What are you dumb bastards doing over here? Don't you know this is a setup?" And Barry said, "Why would he set us up over a quarter?" And he said, "How many quarters have you paid?" And we'd probably spent like $11. He took the basketball. He went, "Get out of my way, son of a bitch." He was 6'6", Uncle RD. The basketball didn't fit in the hole. The hole was smaller than the basketball. So even if you
They
made
squish it. They squish it, but it's an optical
even
illusion.
if you made it,
Yeah.
even if you got it in there, it bounced out.
Right. Yeah, it's an
Because
optical illusion.
it's too small. No, they're not all like that. Some of them you can actually make it.
They squish it, though.
They
Squish what?
The rim.
Did we just say squish what together?
The rim. Yeah,
The
we did.
rim. So it's not round anymore. It's kind of like in this shape.
Oh, it's a little bit of an oval.
A little, oval, but your eyes still see it as a circle.
Okay, have you ever seen the Pete Maravich documentary? Pete Maravich,
One of my favorite guys of all time.
Mine
Pete
too.
Maravich, one of my heroes.
one of my heroes too. Now, there's
I
a great.
did not see the documentary.
Okay, there's two of them on him. There's a Pete Maravich. It's called The Greatest Basketball Player of All Time.
Number 7.
Which is very debatable.
Not that debatable. He's one of the greatest of all time.
He is one of the greatest of all time, and he was, as Magic Johnson said, the first showman in sports. He and Ali
Yeah.
were the two first showmen in sports, and Ollie was ridiculed as well as Maravich. And that became the way you did things. You see the Maravich pass where he's coming down the court and he goes like this.
Right.
He puts his hand over the ball.
Yeah, and just slaps it to the left.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of his moves.
He's looking to the right.
Yeah.
But that's the first time he did it, is that replay. And the ref called traveling on him. And Maravich said to him, how can you call that? You've never seen anybody do that before. And the ref was Daryl Garrettson. And he said, I realized that was true. I had never seen anyone do that before. And I had called traveling on. Remember the Maravich move where he's driving on the Lakers? And he puts the ball behind his back.
Right.
And he jumps.
Right.
And you don't know where the ball is.
Right.
You know the play I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah, of course.
And he just takes out the last second and he lays it up over Wilt.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys are playing defense, and they think he's throwing a behind-the-back pass, which he was known for behind-the-back passes. So he's dribbling, he goes, and he jumps. And everyone's looking around for the and he lays in over Chamberlain. And the 68-point game against the Knicks, I mean, remarkable.
Amazing.
Oddly enough, when he got hurt with the Jazz.
It was a trick play.
But
He was trying to throw it between his legs full court.
The year before, he was all-pro first team.
Right.
And he had come into his own because the time with the Hawks was really kind of not good. But, he still was scoring 20 points a game. Those guys didn't like him because of the money.
They picked him up. It was a shitty team.
And,
He was stuck down there.
and they gave him $1 million bonus, and they gave him $400,000 a year. The next guy on the team was Lou Hudson or Lenny Wilkins, and they were making $52,000 a year. That's management's problem to give this guy $400K, and the next guy's making
8 times what the other guy's making.
Yeah, and he's an unproven rookie, so they didn't like him. You couldn't help but not like him. And Lenny Wilkins was the best point guard in basketball at the time, and but then he went to the Jazz, and they were a expansion team. They had Rich Kelly at center, and when he got hurt, they were for the first time they were like 5 games over 500, and he was All-Pro first team the year before. He was only 30.
Right.
And then he rehabbed, and he came back with the Celtics.
Exactly, with that perm.
Perm and Bird's rookie season. And Bird loved playing with him, and Maravich retired, and Larry tried to talk him into playing another season, and he said, we're gonna win the title.
Right.
And they had gone from 29 wins to 62 wins in Bird's rookie season.
Yep.
The 29 wins the year before, the 62 wins his rookie season, and his second season they played the Rockets in the title game. That year that he was a rookie, Magic beat the Philadelphia 76ers. And then the next season, Bird beat Moses Malone and the Houston Rockets. And it's just a shame that Pete retired and didn't get that because he really wanted that ring.
You're Rain Man with sports and basketball. You know your shit.
I know baseball better, actually.
And then Maravich.
You do?
Maravich dies of a massive heart attack.
I know the church he died in, and I know exactly where he fell.
And
I went and saw it.
It turns out he had
his whole life he
had a defect. He was missing an artery.
He was missing
down an artery or something.
He was missing he was missing a valve.
Was it a valve?
A valve.
Okay.
His whole life he didn't have a valve. He could have fallen over and died
any second.
His whole life.
He made it to 40.
And he made it to 40.
Was it only 40?
On the button, 40.
Oh, wow.
But when you think about it, I mean, when he was at LSU, what he did at LSU, to make his scoring title, you would have to hit 15 threes a game for 4 years to break his scoring title. That's how many points he scored in college. Yeah. He graduated from college with a 44.2 a game average and no three-pointers.
They didn't have the three-pointer yet.
Dale Brown has gone back and looked at all the games, and with the three-pointers, he scores 61 points a game.
Come
because
on.
of the distance of some of those shots.
I'm not bullshitting you. It's in the documentary.
No, it's just one of those things you say. Come on.
Oh yeah, 61 points.
believe you.
61 points a game. He shot 47% from the field, and of course his dad was the coach. But I've watched a lot of those games now, and the offense was geared towards him. Those guys weren't as good, but he was so much better than everyone else. I saw him play a game against Dan Issel, who was the best player in college basketball at the time at Kentucky. And in the first half, Issel said we held him in check. He scored 22 points. And the second half, he went off and scored 40. He scored 62 points against Adolph Rupp and Kentucky Wildcats, and they lost by 1. Yeah. But he was a misunderstood player, I think, and a misunderstood person.
When did he die? What year?
It was 85, 86.
No,
86.
89.
No,
you're right. 88. Look it up. You got it here?
I know where I was living in Rochester. 80.
I think it was 88.
87, 88. You're probably right. Yeah.
And he died playing a pickup game at his church. He became a born again Christian.
Pete Maravich. I'm just doing Sirius.
No, I think Tom's right.
He had become a
86
born again.
was a little low.
He became a born again Christian, and he was very, very active on the speaking, and he was talking to young basketball players, and had become a real good, was doing really good things with his life.
January 88.
January '88.
He died, yeah.
I got a canceled check from Pete
You
Maravich.
do really?
Yeah, for
He was
plumbing.
my
Plumbing work in his house.
Really?
Yeah, it's real.
I had two guys on my wall. I'll tell you,
I don't collect a lot of
check.
stuff, but my Pete Maravich, I value.
I have a canceled check of Marilyn Monroe's,
Wow.
and I had De Niro, the first poster I ever made of De Niro on my wall, and the Pete Maravich's rookie poster on my wall as a kid, and I had them there.
You got autographs?
Really?
I got the De Niro one autograph, but Pete was.
I got a lot of Pistol Pete autographs because I went to his basketball camp.
Did you really?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, you're like I was. I didn't. My parents didn't have the money.
One of the greatest.
What, did it cost money to go to his camps?
It's a boring story, but I gotta say
Tell
it real fast.
me the story.
I was at Pistol Pete Maravich basketball camp. I was obsessed with basketball. I thought I had a real shot to actually be in the NBA, and I followed everything.
I was
he
a good
did.
ball player too.
I followed, but I didn't get the height.
My dad kept telling me you're 5'10".
That's me.
And you're 5'10". You have no quickness.
I wish my dad would have said, "Look, you're not gonna make it to 6 foot. This is a waste of
5'10",
time."
and you have no feet.
Yeah. So
But I could shoot.
it was Kutcher's upstate in New York.
Did you play in high school?
Yeah.
Did you start? Did you start?
No, to be honest with you.
How could you think you're going to be in the NBA and not start on your high school team?
Because I'll tell you why. I was 5'2", 91 pounds in 10th grade. I never got
5'2"?
fucking height, and then I went 5'6", and then I finally got up
you
to
thought
my
you were going to
coach.
grow like be 6'5"?
Yeah, I'm about 5'11" now. That's it.
My dad was 6'4", and I thought I was going to get the growth spurt.
Yeah.
I never got it. All my brothers got it. They're 6'2" and up. I'm the midget in the family.
I followed my dad. He was an amazing basketball player.
But go ahead, tell me the story.
I want to brag about my dad. He had a shot at trying out for the Knicks, but his first wife was dying and chose, to, obviously be with her, and he never got the chance again.
What year was that?
Like way in the fucking 50s, mid
That
50s,
was
somewhere around there.
That's when Dick McGuire was the starting guy.
All that shit.
See, I know my sports
Yeah,
brother.
but they wanted him
Dick
to try out.
McGuire and
He played for Fordham Prep and Navy, my dad.
really.
Yeah, he was really.
Fordham was a powerhouse back then.
And he downplayed, how great he was. And after he died, I found all his fucking press clippings in the attic. I'm like, fuck, no idea. But anyway,
was he an amazing high school player?
I guess.
He must have been.
Yeah, he never really talked about it in depth to that point. But
That-
he was still playing.
That Nick team had Sweetwater on it too.
I don't remember the lineup back then.
Okay, go ahead.
But when he was 50, he was still playing with us and kicking our fucking asses.
At 50,
With just regular shoes on. He didn't even have fucking sneakers.
did he have a real jumper, or was he shooting the setter
He did old school. He had the hook shot and all that shit.
and the setter and stuff?
All that. He could hit it from anywhere. But anyway, so I go to camp, and it's Pistol Pete, and I was obsessed with basketball. I was so excited to be at camp, I would get up as the sun was coming up, and I'm just shooting one morning, and all of a sudden I see this figure, like a fucking movie, coming through the sunlight that's coming up. And-
Was he playing then too?
yeah, oh yeah. This is what he did in
wow.
the summer. And it was Pete Maravich. And we shot around for about 15 or 20 minutes before breakfast.
Just
I'll
the two of
never
you?
forget. I swear to God.
Just you two.
Just us two, and he's giving me pointers and stuff, and I'm like, I was out of my mind. I was.
I
How old was I? 13,
I almost
12,
got tearful.
13
I almost
years
got
old.
tearful just now because I
Yeah.
loved them.
Yeah,
If that had happened for me, I would.
I was out of my mind.
With Pete Maravich, you did.
And
the
then my
shit.
dad became friends with Press Maravich.
You're kidding me.
And they wrote back and forth, and my dad sent the letters to the Hall of Fame.
You're kidding
He
me.
would Press Maravich would write my dad all about Pistol Pete and how his rehab's going and all that, and yeah,
They had a hard
became
life.
pals.
They had a hard life,
because
you
Press
know?
Maravich was one of the coaches at this basketball camp as well. He was still kind of coaching, even
He's
though he was an
from-
older
you
guy
know,
at
Press
that point.
Press was born in Pittsburgh, and then he was working the mills, and he went on to become a college star, and
Right.
and
In his own right.
Then the mother had all those problems. She killed herself. I mean, it was
Right.
real difficult.
And Press was obsessed
Press-
with making Pistol Pete the best he could be.
When Press Maravich was recruiting at the time, Charlie Scott, remember Charlie Scott?
No.
Played for North Carolina, played for the Celtics. And scored like 25 points a game for the Celtics when they had JoJo White and Dave Cowens and Havlicek. And anyway, he was the number one recruit in the nation, and Press Maravich went to recruit him. And his son was a senior in high school, a junior in high school. And he said, I'm coaching at North Carolina State then. He was coaching at North Carolina State, Press was. He said, but when my son is going to college, I'm going to go wherever he told Charlie Scott what he was going to do. I'm going to make it a package deal, and I'm going to end up at a school in the SEC. And Charlie Scott was like, "What is going on here? What's he talking?" Because usually guys come to recruit players like that, and they just fawn all over them and come to NC State. He wasn't recruiting them for NC State. He was recruiting them, and he said, "Well, what's the bottom line here?" He goes, "In 2 years, you will be playing basketball with the greatest basketball player that will ever lived." And he's 16 years old right now. And Charlie Scott was the number one recruit. John Wooden had visited him, and he went, "But coach, I could be playing for John Wooden." He said, "Hang on, the greatest basketball player that's ever lived." And Charlie Scott said, "Is your son?" And he went, "Yes, he's the greatest basketball player that's ever playing basketball right now in high school." And he was scoring like 48 points a game, and he was the best high school player in the nation. And Scott ended up saying no, and ended up going to NC State. And Press coached Charlie Scott. He went to NC State despite Press Maravich telling him, I'm going to leave and all this. And he wanted to go to NC State because he was from North Carolina, and it was either go to North Carolina State and Dean Smith wasn't at North Carolina yet. So he went to NC State, and then 2 years later, the biggest news in college basketball was there was a freshman at LSU, and they would sell out. They had like 12,000 fans there for the freshman game, and then like 1,800 fans because basketball hadn't arrived in the SEC yet. And like 11,000 fans would leave, and the varsity game would be watched by this very
Small crowd.
Smattering.
crowd.
Yeah.
And Pistol Pete did for all intents and purposes create SEC basketball, which went on to become a big time. Arkansas and Nolan Richardson and all those great programs, Georgia and he doesn't get the credit. You don't read about him a lot as being a
He was amazing.
pioneer of Showtime and he was the first guy, really. They said Cousy wasn't that great a ball handler. I mean, he was great.
Cousy had moves, but
Yeah.
Pistol Pete would put it on a whole
Pete,
nother level.
Yeah, Pete was 6'6" too. Let's not forget he grew
was
to be
really
6'6".
tall.
He was really tall. And
For a guard.
Cotton,
at the time.
Cotton Fitzsimmons says to this day he was the fastest from end line to end line with the ball in his hands. And once he was like 5 yards from the top of the key, he was in shooting range. So when he ran the fast break, I mean, there was no one who could run it like him because you had to defend him. And once he was with the Jazz, he was really, really had grown. And he was just, I've watched some of those games with the Jazz his last season. He's playing guard like, I've never seen anyone play guard like that except Magic. And he's a better scorer than Magic. He's a better shooter.
Oh, way better scorer than Magic.
And that was that season is the game he had the 68-point game against Frazier.
Right.
And that's when Clyde was the greatest defender in the league. And like halfway through the first half, Clyde turned to Earl Monroe and he said, "Pearl." And he went, I don't want
anything to do with this.
And Dean Meminger was on the team too.
Yes.
Dean Meminger, and he went Dean. And Clyde said he said he was unguardable. He was absolutely unguardable. At one point, Maravich is at the top of the key, and he has the ball in his hands, right? And he goes to make a pass here, and he pivots around in a circle, and then Clyde, he holds the ball in this hand, and then Clyde makes a move to get it, and he turns away from him, still looking to pass, and then he looks up at the clock. Clyde's in front of him, and he goes up, and Clyde jumps as high as he can, and he goes like this, puts it in his left hand, and shoots it.
Come on.
You got to watch it.
I got to see that highlight.
It's the 68-point game, and Maravich said after the game it was the greatest game he ever played, and he felt that at the beginning of the second quarter he couldn't miss, and he scored 68 points against the Knick team that won the 70, not the first championship, the second one with Jerry Lucas. They won a title against the Lakers, and then they won it 73.
I was going to say, oh, yeah, you're right.
The 69-70 team with
Right.
Dick Barnett at guard.
Right.
They won the title, and they traded for Monroe and Jerry Lucas, and they won another title with DeBusschere, Reed, Clyde, Bill Bradley, and then Earl Monroe and Jerry Lucas were the other guys. And Phil Jackson was on that team also.
A bunch of those guys were here. There were 6 of them in the fishbowl out there probably
Who?
8 months ago.
Which guys?
Phil Jackson, I think. Is DeBusschere still alive?
No, he dropped
Who
dead on
was
the
the other
streets
guy?
of New
Dave
York.
died?
Busher?
Dave's from Detroit. Dave died?
Yeah, he died.
When?
Walking on the streets of New York back in the day. That's been a while now.
Well, Dave was a GM when they drafted Ewing.
Huh?
Dave was the Knicks GM when they drafted
Oh, right,
Ewing.
right. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it was the luck of the
The
draw.
lottery.
Yeah, but do you remember? Ever watch that video of DeBusschere winning? I mean, he was a Knick. I mean, he was a Piston first. I'm from Detroit.
Right.
And we traded him for Walt Bellamy and Howie Colmives.
How did that work out for you?
Do you know who Howie Colmives is?
I know Bellamy, though.
Bellamy was a bum.
Right.
Howie Colmives was a bigger bum.
That's why I said how
Howie
did that work
Colmives
out
had
for
legs about 1 inch tall. I mean, he was. He was the prototype, fire hydrant guard, but no speed, couldn't shoot, and couldn't dribble. Dave Bing actually said this. He said, apart from that, he was highly skilled. Because Dave Bing was his backcourt mate.
I think we now have to get
go.
out of here, right?
Yes.
I want to talk about Jeter, and they're selling his socks now.
What's he hitting right now? 276?
Something like
Is he
that.
that
I thought
high?
it was lower than that. Those in the 250s. Maybe you're
Is it
right.
really?
You might be right.
He moved it up a little bit then, huh?
And real briefly, I want to say I saw Derek Jeter play in high school. I'm from Detroit. He was from Kalamazoo.
All right.
When he was in ninth grade, the word is spread all over the state that there was a guy who was going to the major leagues. And I saw him play in high school, and he was special then, and he's had a remarkable career. And what I'd like to say, Derek Jeter, you've given me incredible thrills. And
Was it so remarkable that you're going to buy his socks, his used socks?
I wouldn't buy his used socks.
That came
but
out.
I would buy a hat of his.
You'd buy a bat, yeah, but
A hat.
Yeah.
they're selling his used game socks now.
Who is?
It was on the front page of the paper today.
Yeah.
Derek doesn't need the money, does he?
The collectible company that he's
Derek,
working
Derek's
with.
not selling them, is he?
No, he just did this whole.
$400. There it is. Yeah. Yanks are selling Jeter's game socks for $400.
It's not bad. 400.
Would you grab that?
Mantle was the first guy to make big money in memorabilia. I just watched a documentary about Mantle. I love sports. Mantle was struggling. He did the thing in Atlantic City, and he and Mays, and they got banned for a while. And then the memorabilia thing started, and he made a ton of money, and he was drunk, unfortunately, one night, and he said if he had to do it over again, someone said if he had to do it over again, what would you do? And I thought he would talk about his knee or something. And he goes, I'd have kept every bat, every hat, and every jock strap I had, and I think the jock straps would have made the most money because these bitches love me. That's what the Mick said.
Good old Mick.
I love Mickey Mantle. Anyway, you guys, it was great talking to you. Thank you very much.
All right. Very
Okay,
good.
thanks, you guys.
All right, well, that sucked. Thanks for listening to the Opie and Anthony podcast. Also, interact with the Opie and Anthony show on Twitter, @Opie Radio, @Anthony Cumia.